Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Talking About Birds, the only Cardinal podcast more repetitive than an Ali Marmol press conference. My name is Nate Heininger, and once again, I am joined by my co-host, Dan Samorka.
Another one. Do it again.
Yeah,
One more time.
We the best podcast.
Run it back.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. And this week, we are going to dig in on the Jordan Hicks rumors. We're going to talk about the trade deadline, which is quickly approaching. We're going to check in on the rest of the teams across the NL Central, and we're going to talk about the upcoming series against the Cubs, the upcoming series against the Twins. If you have an idea for the opening bit, tweet us at Talk About Birds. Hambone, you're back. You survived.
Yep.
Wasn't sure. There was a non-zero chance that you don't make it out of Canada for a number of reasons.
Yeah.
Border Patrol, etc.
They can't hold me back.
You're too buttery. You slipped right through. They tried to grab you.
Yep.
But you'd pre-buttered yourself as you do every morning.
Dude, funny enough, so we're coming back across the border. It was a complete joke. We ride up in this big RV that's like 30 something feet long. There's 9 guys in it. The Border Patrol on the American side, he comes into the RV, asks us our names, and he's like, "Where are y'all coming from?" And it's like, "Oh, there's some from Denver, there's some from St. Louis, there's some from St. Paul, here and there." And the guy just looks at us and goes, "Sure," and then waves us on through. Like, I don't know if it was his last day at the office or what was going on, but yeah, I mean, like, sure.
Yeah, sure. Like,
so our borders are safe.
I don't believe you, but I don't care enough to try. Or like,
it was apathy, pure apathy. Because, we had some booze, we had some tobacco, we had some fish that we were bringing back across the border. And he's like, "Okay, whatever, sure."
Nice. Because I definitely can remember being fully unloaded at the border on previous trips where they take out like everything and then they just leave it all on the side of the road and say, "All right, pack up, you can go through." And you have to repack everything.
No, the only trouble we got coming into Canada is that we brought well over 700 cans of beer with us, which is incomprehensible how we did that. But we had to pay. It was like it was a little over $300 worth of Canadian bucks tax on that. And that was the only thing they really gave us trouble. Is very easy. So old Slippery Ben slipped in and slipped right out.
Wow. Well, I assume, our fishing prowess carried over. Let's see, you spent 6 days fishing on this trip.
Yep.
So I'm going to guess you caught 2 fish, maybe a half dozen if I'm being, friendly.
Yeah.
How'd it go for you?
I don't want to pat myself on the back too hard, but I had probably the best week of fishing I've ever had in my life.
Okay. So like a baker's dozen or so.
I think, I mean, for real, I had never had this happen in my entire life of fishing, but I had this happen to me twice. 3 casts in a row of fish. Boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
And 2 separate days. It was just, it's a really good year. I hadn't been, my wedding interfered with the trip last time. So I hadn't been in quite a while, and I came up and staked my claim and, met a bunch of really nice fish, really nice guys.
Wow.
Hit it off networking. Always be networking.
Yeah, that makes sense. People underrate the value of having a good fish network. And now you've got a nice little home base somewhere in Ontario.
Yeah. If I'm up in Ontario and I need to, buy some worms.
when the bit goes one line too long. Well, we had Kelsey on last week.
I heard,
which was
that
great.
Was the first piece of American content I consumed upon crossing the border.
Wow. Well, we're an international podcast at this point. We've got
Yeah.
guests from around the world. You're globe trotting up to a lake somewhere in the
America's
north.
hat. Yeah.
Yeah. Were you able to follow baseball very much while you were out?
Not so much, but I do know that every game that was played while I was above the border, the Cardinals won. And it's the first day that we crossed the border, the Cardinals lost. So
I noticed that there was a win streak, like the little win streak that started making everybody briefly sort of panic about the prospect of selling before it was once again quickly dashed by the three losses against the Cubs. But that win streak happened exactly when you were gone, which
yes,
we had talked about 2 weeks ago. That something's got to change, and it turns out you leaving might have been the thing. I mean, I'm not a superstitious person, but I also, you can't
the facts are
argue.
there. The facts
Are there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I got receipts, bro.
Yeah.
I don't know what I mean
Wow.
by that, but
You just got the most hyped I've ever seen you for a single sentence, and then immediately you regretted it.
yeah, I wasn't feeling it. It was fake.
Well, it's good you're back. We have an interesting a couple of really the next week is going to be maybe the most interesting week in Cardinals baseball.
I don't think this is saying. I don't think I'm being overly dramatic when I think this might be the most important week of our entire lives.
It's like every election is the most important election
Yeah.
of our lives, and yes, this week in baseball might be the most important week.
I also think
our
it's
lives.
setting up to be the most dramatic week ever.
Yeah. Wow.
So
Wow.
take those two into account.
I'm not ready for that.
No.
But yeah, I mean, so what are you feeling? What do you want to talk about? You know,
Well,
you've been out of the country.
Yeah.
Living your life. We've been here holding down the fort. What's going on in old Big Benny's brain right now?
I just everyone should just put down their phones, put down their TV screens,
Wow.
throw away their compact discs, go outside and just look at the sun for a little bit.
Just stare
soak
right
it in.
into the sun.
Just stare right into the sun.
Delete all of your other podcasts except for us.
Yeah.
Put it on and stare directly into the sun.
God, if like man on the news or like
Man
a news
on the
report,
news.
man on the news, local news reporter found Harry carrying himself by looking into the sun while listening and talking about birds, I would question my life. No, okay. There's a couple of things I want to talk about. So the wave, and I'll just really hit this, and I think this is probably the most predictable opinion I have. But I heard you guys talking about the wave on the last episode, screaming in the RV. I don't like the wave. I don't.
Of course.
I know. I also, my biggest, and I think you guys were kind of hitting around this, but my biggest issue is the timing of the wave. If I'm at a game and the Rockies have 7 runs on the Cardinals, and the Rockies fans are doing the wave in the bottom of the 8th inning, what are you doing there? Are you just are you celebrating the distance? Are you trying to encourage? Do you want to see more runs? Or are you just standing up and sitting down because you're a sheep and you want to do what the other sheep do? And rah, let's have some fun. I get what you're saying. Kids should do whatever they want at baseball games. If the kids want to do the wave, that's fine. But I'm an adult. I'm there on business.
This is not for fun. This is not for pleasure.
Go get yourself a cotton candy and screw off on the concourse is what I said.
It's a fun take. I get it. I really do. Like me personally, my preferred viewing experience does not include the wave.
You know what I say, Nate?
What's that?
Get the hell out of here.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
I'm going to Florida next week. Now those are some waves I can get behind.
Hey, hang 10, baby.
You ever go surfing? You ever tried?
No. It is definitely on my list though.
Yeah, me too. I'd love to. I don't know that I'd be particularly good at it, but I think it would be fun.
If surfing is anything like downhill skiing, I'll take to it. No problem. But I don't think that it is. So I don't think that I will.
Yeah, I feel like, I guess like there's balancing, which arguably everything has. Just existing as requires some balancing.
Whenever I go skiing, I go, guys, let's go surf the hard water, and everyone says, Hell yeah, bruh.
Hell yeah. I mean, I guess if you were a snowboarder, there would be some horizontal
Yeah,
balance
that
like
all jokes
elements.
aside, I think that's a little more on brand. Okay, another thing I wanted to talk about really quick, just because I noticed I was traveling, obviously. On the way to up, I saw a guy wearing a. Do you know that it's a 643 equals 2 shirt? It's a baseball nerd shirt. I think they might sell it on Fangraphs. You know the shirt I'm
Yes.
talking about? Yeah.
Yes.
Um, and then I saw in Minneapolis, because I went to Minneapolis to then get picked up to go to Canada. I saw a guy wearing a Pitching Ninja shirt, just the
Mm,
Pitching Ninja logo on the guy's
yeah.
shirt. And then when I was flying back in DIA in Denver, I saw a guy wearing one of those Sarah Lang's ALS Baseball is Best
Yeah.
shirts. And it
It's
got me
cool.
thinking. I didn't say hi to any of these people, but I was curious if you see not like a Cardinals jersey or a Rockies jersey or Reds hat or whatever it might be. If you see a baseball nerd shirt out in the wild that's referencing fan graphs or pitching ninja or one of those things, are you approaching that person, or do you just kind of like, oh wow, okay, and then kind of do your own thing after that?
Uh my dear boy, I am far too socially awkward to to just go up and say hello to a stranger. No,
Yeah,
I don't think that I do. I've thrown and you singled this out as not involved, but like I think I've thrown like an errant go cards
sure, sure.
at a like when we were in Boston, you know,
Hey,
a
Boston.
hey, go Cardinals, a little bit of this, a little bit of that.
Yeah,
But no, generally I'm not. Um I have this t-shirt that is
dude, I have
a
like 100 t-shirts,
don't even get me started
bro.
on the amount of t-shirts. Big flex. I so there's a podcast that I really like. It's called Welcome to Macintosh. And they sell these shirts that it's just like a pixel old Mac computer,
Yeah,
like the Apple II. And it's like there's no branding on it other than that logo. So you wouldn't really know whether it's like a podcast shirt or just a pro Apple shirt. And like peak pandemic, I was at the grocery store and I was wearing that shirt and I had a mask on and I was wearing glasses and like it was early enough where I was still really bad at like managing having a mask on and having glasses on so they would fog up all the
my
time.
glasses.
Which yeah, I mean led to
Did you
so
get
like
little tiny windshield wipers for them?
of course I got little tiny
You
windshield wipers.
nerd.
There's literally no other solution. And anyway, this guy like I'm shopping and this guy like came up to me and was like, "Rah, rah, 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 rah," like pointing to my shirt.
Yeah.
And like I couldn't really see him because my glasses were
Was he
fogged up.
eating like a bunch of grapes or
I
something?
and yeah, I guess so because I like couldn't. And he was like pointing at my shirt, and
Yeah.
it was a really awkward experience because I forgot that I was wearing like I normally wear like pretty like just like plain colors. Um, and I forgot that I was wearing anything with any sort of
Ah, yes.
like thing worth pointing at, and
Right.
it was a deeply awkward experience for me. So
Yeah.
I don't want to be that guy for someone else.
Yeah.
Even though it would be probably nice, if they're out there wearing a Fangraph shirt. It's like
Yeah.
there's certainly
It,
something we could talk about.
if we sold talking about bird shirts of some kind and you saw somebody at Schnucks in the beer aisle or whatever wearing a talking about bird shirt, would you say hi, or was that still you wouldn't do it?
Uh, I've had like an extension of this happen through my I used to play in bands and we'd sell shirts and stuff like that, and it didn't happen a lot, but I had seen people in real life wearing one of my band's t-shirts,
Yeah.
and let me tell you I was avoiding them.
Wow.
I
Okay.
know I'm just like the most awkward
If
person
you're
in the
listening to this and you see Nate in the wild, just heel turn
no
or
I
walk up, announce who you are, how you know him, be very
yes
clear, say thank you for your service, and then heel turn, because obviously it's unwanted and it's not
I
going to
would
go well.
no, it's not that. I'm just like, you know incredibly awkward. But if I actually get into a conversation with someone, I'm sure it'd be fine. I'd love to, if you're out there listening and you somehow recognize me and see me, come up and say hello. I'd love to say hello.
Yeah.
But
Nate is very ticklish, by the way.
Actually, I'm not ticklish at all.
Oh, well, I'm going to put that to the test, bro.
It's a point of pride for me. I'm not ticklish. I got over it.
That's a point of pride.
Yeah, it used to be, but I got over it.
You're a sad, sad little man.
What else do you want to talk about?
The only other thing I wanted to hit on was let's go Scotty Rolen. He was inducted into the Hall of Fame on Sunday of this week. Awesome dude. Him doing the speech and then walking over and giving his mom and dad a big hug with tears streaming down. Very, very sweet. But yeah, that was great.
Yeah, I'm not a big sports speech guy, but every once in a while they land them really well, and I thought his was really nice.
Just seems like he's just like such a dude, such a down to earth, normal ass, incredible, one of the best baseball players of all time. But such a normal guy. So yeah, it was fun.
I guess I didn't ask you. If you see someone out there wearing one of your shirts, are you going up to them? Or
If we had to talk about Bird's shirt and I saw somebody, I would definitely do that. I'd go get a selfie. I'd probably put it on the socials, that kind of thing. And then I would probably say I would either probably share too much information, be too friendly. I would go the other way. It would be, sir, I'm trying to order at Chipotle. Please stop touching me.
I guess I'm just not as hungry for attention as you are.
Yeah, I think it's my hunger for attention. And when I think of Nate, I think, oh, guy's low key. He always fades to the background. Never has a word to say.
No.
It's he walks with a big stick and says very few words.
Yeah, I do.
You piece of shit.
Hey, if you think we should make talking about Birds t-shirts, let me know. We got our cool pixel art logo. Maybe we can
put a target on the back so that you can avoid them.
Yeah. That's what targets are used for.
Yeah, I don't know where I was going with that. First, I was thinking you would wear the target and then people would throw stuff at you. But
yeah. Okay.
Maybe I'll make that for you.
There you go. Yeah. All right. Should we talk about the Cardinals or do you got other shit you want to talk about?
No. Minneapolis is funny. I was by the ballpark, which was pretty. But yeah, no, nothing else to really.
I've also been outside of that ballpark. There's a number of ballparks that I've managed to visit, but not go to a game for scheduling reasons.
That's what the real fans do. Is you don't need you just need the facade. You don't need the seats, grass, dirt.
No. What other parts of a stadium might there be?
Bases, concession stands, concourse. We already talked about concourses today. Light towers.
Yeah.
Batter's eye,
glass,
etc.
Concrete, etc. Yeah, this is good. All right, so the big thing that's swirling right now, Jordan Hicks, an assumed
my favorite Cardinal has been forever.
Never a sad word said about Jordan Hicks on this podcast.
He is my North Star in life and in my fandom.
May we all strive to be Jordan Hicks. Well, so it was pretty well assumed that he is being traded. I think he is the most obvious, easy to trade piece out of all of the Cardinals' potential free agents. There's not a competitive team that would not want Jordan Hicks on their team. You can always use more bullpen help. And usually those trades are less complicated than maybe acquiring something like a starting pitcher. However, the rumors now are that the Cardinals and Jordan Hicks are mutually interested in and pursuing an extension. So this is an interesting twist, particularly for it to happen right now, right in the middle, right at the trade deadline. So, Ben, what are your thoughts on this story and this development?
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously I'm giving myself trouble for my Jordan Hicks take earlier, but obviously he's clicked in. We talked about Nolan Arenado kind of revealing that Jordan Hicks has his focus, his preparedness has reached a new level. And I take that, I take that with a grain of salt, obviously. I think, but it is noteworthy because Nolan Arenado does not seem like he has he doesn't care enough about what the media thinks to lie.
Right.
And I just kind of buy it a little bit. Also, he's great. I think where
Yeah.
the complication is that, or like put very simply, right? The Cardinals' number one need is pitching of all facets, high end pitching of all facets. And by that, I mean at the back end of the bullpen and the rotation. Jordan Hicks looks like a very talented pitcher. So
Yeah.
retaining a very talented pitcher for however many years this contract ends up being, if it does get done, is probably a really good idea. I think so like baseline, good idea, extend your good pitchers. You have very little of them, pay this
Yeah.
guy some money. That being said, his injury history is extremely worrisome. I think his role is a question mark. Is he your closer? Or do we try the Jordan Hicks starting experiment again? And the other thing is, like you were saying, like, what is his market value? If you can package Jordan Hicks with somebody and go get a proven young starter or a high end starter in AAA or a Brian Wu, as we talked about, then I think
Hmm.
you have to go pull that trigger because that player is just worth more to the Cardinals right now than others. But if you're looking like you're going to get a mid-level prospect or a bench guy or somebody who's not going to impact the big league club in 2024 significantly, then he is worth like why sell
Yeah.
out on this guy? Why ruin your opportunity to re-sign him if it doesn't happen now right after the season ends? So that would be my big question is when you're John Mozeliak and you're calling around
Hey. Hey.
to the Dodgers or the Diamondbacks, Phillies. I mean, there's a lot
Yeah.
of teams there. You could list half of baseball who would be
Hmm.
interested legitimately in Jordan Hicks. Um,
Like every competitor has,
yeah,
I'm sure, at least checked in.
if you could trade Jordan Hicks to the Orioles and get a Jordan Westberg or something like that, I would say you have to do that, even though it's not exactly the shape of player you need. The talent for talent, you have to assume that you're winning that with the control, all the other things included. Um, but that's, I think, the big outstanding question. What does Jordan Hicks even look like on the free agent market right now? Or I'm sorry, on the trading market right now? How much of a player do you receive back?
Yeah. Yeah. I generally agree across the board. I think that like we need pitching, and obviously this guy's career has been up and down, but if we're going into the free agent market next year looking for relievers, like he would be considered one of the top relievers on the market, in my opinion. So why not just get him now? Uh, that said, it is tricky to know what his trade value is right now. We don't really there haven't been very many moves recently. We've not seen what the top contenders are willing to pay. I suspect that this will be something that sort of all comes together around the same time. I imagine that Mazalek and crew are with one hand negotiating a contract extension, and on the other hand, seeing what they can get for him out on the market.
And
Because the thing about trading him too, that doesn't mean you can't re-sign him. You
right.
just lose that. You lose the like immediacy of it. You also lose the fact that Jordan Hicks has only ever pitched for the St. Louis Cardinals, and so he doesn't really know what it's like with other organizations. And so obviously we all believe the Cardinals have a really good organization and treat their players well, but you never know. He gets traded to the Orioles, and all of a sudden he's like, hell yeah, I love it here.
Yeah.
And now that's just a whole new piece of the puzzle in his decision making on where
Yep.
he goes, and it might make it harder to sign him in the offseason.
And really quick for reference, and I don't think these players are the same, but they're similar enough that I think this is relevant. Aroldis Chapman was traded from the Royals to the Rangers earlier this year. The Rangers gave up Cole Reagans, a 25-year-old starting pitcher who I have no familiarity with, and a guy named Ronnie Cabrera, who is a 17-year-old outfielder. So obviously Jordan Hicks, his stuff is a little better than Aroldis Chapman. He is younger, although I'm not sure that matters in the final 2 months of the season, but
Mm-hmm.
something to think about as far as, potential value. Um, that being said, also, maybe he's a package. Maybe there's a Jordan Hicks and a Tommy Edman or a Jordan Hicks and a Jordan, um,
Yeah.
um, Jordan Montgomery package to the Dodgers, or somebody who also needs a starter, and it helps get something else done. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's the big
I,
question.
I imagine the way I've been seeing this going, this is just total like conjecture, is I'm seeing the Cardinals making only like 2 or 3 trades, but it includes like upwards of 6 to 7 guys.
Buddy, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. I'm definitely foreseeing a like Montgomery and Yepez trade,
yeah,
or like Burleson, Hicks, and Flaherty to the Dodgers or something like
yeah.
that,
And
right?
the team gets a rental, but then they also get some pieces that are sticking around for
Yeah,
4 or 5 years. Yeah,
right. With some upside, even if that upside hasn't you know really been seen at all in the
yeah,
majors with like a guy like Burleson. Oh, I guess there've been flashes, of what
yeah.
Burleson could be, but you're definitely trading him on what he or acquiring him on what you hope he will be, not what he's been right now.
Sure.
As far as Hicks as a starter goes, if we flash back to the beginning of the 2022 season, I was a huge fan of the Hicks in the rotation, like thought experiment. That was my number one pick for who I thought should get the spot. Uh, if you were not really following last year, it didn't go very well.
Right.
A combination of injury and ineffectiveness basically had him losing his starting position by mid-year, and we really haven't looked back at it. I have not heard much about him returning as a starter, other than everyone else sort of in our sphere talking about it. But at least I haven't seen anything from the organization. Depending on how this trade deadline goes, if he does stick around, uh, I think it's kind of an all hands on deck audition for 2024, and I would love to see him get a couple starts, but I know that's not really how it typically goes this late because you'd want him to get stretched out. But even like let's move him into a long reliever situation or like a piggyback start. See what he looks like over 3 innings, and then
Yeah.
maybe by the end of September he gets a start, and we see what it looks like, and we at least know that he's an option again for 2024. Mats has
Well,
been looking good, so you start to sort of stack up like what does the rotation look like right now. But the trade deadline could change all of that. But I'd be in favor of lightly experimenting with Hicks back in the rotation, assuming it's a full sell and he is
yeah.
still with the team.
Yeah, a funny thing about this trading deadline, you can assume, at least I'm assuming, that Montgomery and Flaherty are likely
Yeah,
on their way out. And there then becomes the problem of who is taking those starts.
yeah.
Um,
It's gonna get rough, everybody. I mean, I guess we're probably Liberators coming back up. Maybe McGreevy gets his shot.
Zach Thompson, maybe?
Zach Thompson,
Who
like,
knows?
yeah, it's going to be worse
It's
than
a
what the
lot of
first half
innings.
of the
Yeah.
first half of the season. It's going to be worse. Now, we Ben and I actually both predicted that the second half of the season is better than the first half as far as the record goes. But if Montgomery and Dakota go and it doesn't, or not Dakota, Montgomery and Flaherty go, and in the trade packages don't return anybody who is going to be a starter for us for in 2024, then it's gonna be a tough 8 weeks.
Yeah. It'll be, we'll get to watch the kids play, though.
Yeah, yeah.
So there's
Hopefully,
fun in that.
I'm the I this might be on the outline somewhere, but while we're talking about it, my big hope is that Paul DeYoung is traded and Mason Wynn is immediately called up.
Yeah.
I think that would be so much fun.
Yeah.
He's been crushing the ball in the minors. It feels like at this point he has done everything that you kind of need to see. The defense is obviously there, and the offense has been great for a while now. So, like, I don't see why you don't call him up. But obviously, they may wait until September to sort of extend the clock a little bit and let him
Yeah.
come in as a rookie eligible in 2024.
Yeah, yeah. I hope the first thing you said is writing out the second thing. But yeah, I think Paul DeYoung, if Jordan Hicks is most obvious trade candidate in baseball number one, Paul DeYoung is number two.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the like trade deadline as a whole. Couple other rumors going around. I don't know if you saw Katie Wu has reported that the Cardinals are likely intending to keep Tyler O'Neill.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on that?
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it because there's absolutely no way you're going to get anywhere near what his value is right now. If
Yeah.
he has a strong 2 months with the Cardinals, or if even looks healthy and he's moving well and running well and all that stuff, if you do want to trade him, the time to trade him would be during the offseason. But
Yeah.
here's just not enough time. Maybe there's one club out there that would change their mind on that. Maybe the Cardinals are saying this because you really need to pry Tyler O'Neill away from John Mozeliak in the front office to get him. And they don't want him being undervalued. I don't think it makes inherent sense to pick Tyler O'Neill as the guy over some of the other guys. Like if Newt should also be on that list for my money. But yeah, like I said, I just think I don't think any other GM would really go out there and provide the package that any of us, including the Cardinals front office, would think would be worth it for a guy who just hasn't played.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I'm okay with it. I think it's probably the smart way to handle it.
Yeah, I agree. I think we're both pretty big fans of Tyler O'Neill, and I know that is not a universal feeling across Cardinal fandom. But my take on it is that uh, he has, I think, the highest ceiling of any of the outfielders that we have, and also we have seen that ceiling at the major league level, and no one else have we seen that yet. So I think he's the most likely to be good out of all of them
Yeah,
because he has been good. Health
guys.
is a weird thing for him, but still.
Even if he's unhealthy, guys that can put up 5 and 6 WAR in a season on both sides of the ball, you just can't find those guys. There, you
Yeah.
like trading for them is very difficult. Drafting for them is very difficult. If you have one, you should hold on to it.
Yeah.
Like pretty much full stop. Uh, like whatever else the situation is,
Yeah.
try to figure it out with Tyler O'Neill, especially at what he's costing the team, which is essentially nothing.
Yeah. And a point you made too, which I agree with entirely, is that this trade deadline, there are certain guys that make a ton of sense that you kind of have to trade now. Hicks, Montgomery, DeYoung, Flaherty, those guys. In O'Neill, there is no pressure to sell him. So why likely sell at the bottom of his value unless somebody is willing to come in and overpay?
Right.
And then another point on what you said, which I think bears repeating, is the front office is going to say a lot of things, and a lot of things are going to be reported across all of baseball over the next week. And there is no, they are not required to tell the truth when they are making these statements. And in fact,
You have to tell me if you're a cop, though.
yeah, well, that one's a universal
Yeah.
truth.
Right.
Teams are often like, there is a benefit to obfuscation and like blurring what is actually happening behind the scenes. So teams, we know this. We know teams will use reporters to drop fake stories in order to drum up interest. Like this is all part of the game.
Right.
We've seen John Mozeliak do this. Like so, just remember every one of these reports. Katie Wu saying the Cardinals do not intend to trade Tyler O'Neill can both be true and also be an effort to increase his value on the market by implying that we value him above all these other guys.
Right.
And so you should too if you want to trade for him.
Yeah. And like, there are teams that could very much use a Tyler O'Neill. There are teams,
Mm-hmm.
small market teams that could bet on the bounce back and trade an older player,
Yeah.
a Shane Bieber type, to get a.
Well,
Um,
not him. He's on the 60-day now,
oh, I
but I know
forgot
it. Yeah.
that type of player though.
Yeah, for sure.
Somebody who's maybe on their final year or second to final year, and
I
they
was
want to
thinking
go get a young outfielder.
I could see if we are going to go down that road, White Sox and Dylan Cease sort of thing. You're getting 2 years of Dylan Cease for, I think the Cardinals would probably have to give more, but like I could see a trade for Dylan Cease centered around a
Man,
Tyler O'Neill.
I don't know what the White Sox are doing right now. I wouldn't be surprised if they trade Eloy, if they trade Yohan Moncada, if they trade
Yeah.
basically everyone who isn't their center fielder, whose name is escaping me right now.
Luis Robert.
Luis Robert.
Yeah, there's a lot of talk right now. Apparently, the Rays and the White Sox are in talks about Lance Lynn, and I don't know if you saw this going around. Total sidebar, but Lance Lynn has a full no trade clause, and he's made like a sub list within his no trade clause of
Yeah.
teams that he will not be traded to. He'll waive his no trade clause for a lot of teams. The Cardinals are one of the teams he will not waive his no trade for.
Yeah.
I just thought that was really interesting. I don't know. I'm like, it's been a long time since he was a Cardinal, so I don't know if it's just like he's saying right now, I don't want to go be a Cardinal because they're bad this year and I don't want to be a part of a bad team this year, or if there's some sort of like been there, done that. I'm
I mean, we all know Lance Lynn's personality. I would not be surprised if him and John Mozeliak do not get along and he doesn't want to come work for him again. If that's the case, that's too bad because I love Lance Lynn. But but like that being said, I wouldn't want to go to a sub 500 team 2/3 of the way through the season either. So, however that worked out, I would not be surprised at all.
Yeah, totally. So yeah, I mean, we were talking about before we started recording, like so much of this show might even be outdated by time we release, which we're really good at releasing episodes or recording like right before big news drops. So trying to keep an eye on stuff as we're talking today.
I am refreshing MLB trade rumors just to make sure we don't miss anything huge.
Well, what do you want to talk about with the trade deadline?
Oh,
Who's
big
on
news,
top of
Nate.
my
Zach Eflin headed for MRI on left knee. We almost missed that.
The Rays are gonna. I mean, he's been one of their better starters, though. That could have implications. I think the Rays are the perfect type of team to go and get a Jordan Montgomery.
Yeah,
and they have a ton of interesting prospects, as they always do.
They do. I also think Jordan Montgomery back to the AL East is something that makes a lot of sense. Those teams out there know him. They know he can pitch in those ballparks and in that division. Would not be surprised if pretty much any team other than the Yankees tries to acquire, also because they're in last place, tries to acquire the Jordan Montgomery and some other guys.
I think all 5 of the AL East teams are going to be buyers. It's going to be wild because the Yankees, I think they just have the same sort of pressure the Cardinals always have, which is if there's a shot, they have to go for it, or like there'll be a riot in the streets. Yeah. So I think they're gonna buy as well. Although they'll probably be more reserved. They'll likely be smart about it.
So I agree. I just wanted to go over some possible trade deadline candidates for the Cardinals and to determine the likeliness of them being traded. The one at the top of my list is somebody who's kind of come into the news very recently is Willson Contreras, newly signed, largest free agent contract for a player for the Cardinals who's never played for the organization. Catcher of the future, Willson Contreras on the trading block. First off, what do you think the likelihood of him getting traded is? And second off, do you think it would be a good idea, a bad idea, in between? What are your thoughts?
I think it's incredibly unlikely. To me, this is yet another rumor that is probably true in that the Cardinals are willing to listen on anybody.
Yeah.
But I don't think that they are actively shopping Willie Contreras. It just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. But like right now, all of the writers are starved for content. And so I bet somewhere along the Cardinals organization, they said, like, someone was talking to a reporter or whatever, and they said, who are you willing to trade? And they said something like, we'll listen in on everybody. All of a sudden that becomes Willson Contreras is on the trade block, right? Because that's not untrue, but it just might not be like the most direct thing. So I don't think it's going to happen for a number of reasons. One, and kind of most importantly, I don't know who's buying Willson Contreras right now. I mean, I know there are teams out there that could use a hitting catcher that are competing. I know the Yankees, like that would make sense. I just the stuff that's been swirling around Willson Contreras, his ability to catch, um, whether it's right or wrong, I just don't see a team like acquiring him to be their catcher
Yeah.
in mid-season. Of course, I'm sure they can do other scouting that we don't have information on as fans, but if even like a third of the stuff is true about his sort of slowness to learn the Cardinals pitching staff, how's that going to go if you're acquired in the middle of a season? It feels like that's going to be a problem. So I think that's pretty important. Who's actually buying him? And second of all, like I think he's had a weird start with the Cardinals, but there's no reason. I don't see any reason for us to bail on why he was brought in and what his future with the Cardinals could look like. He was with the Cubs. He was a 60-40 starter, sometimes part-time starter behind catcher. I think we thought he'd be more than that with the Cardinals, but even if he is something only like a halftime catcher or a 60-40 catcher, like I still think that's valuable. And it looks like Ivan has taken a step forward, even though he was sent back down. Like you can see this world where we have a really good 1-2 with
Yeah.
Ivan and with Contreras. And so like it feels too early to bail on your 5-year contract with this dude over 3 months of not even bad, just not like it's not like he's been elite, but he's been pretty good and he's been fun to watch. So I don't think it's going to happen. But
Yeah.
if someone comes in and blows you away, like you're going to trade him because anybody's on the block right now for the right deal, but
Well,
I think
I
it's very
wonder.
unlikely.
I think that's where it comes into question. If somebody comes in and they're not offering you a crazy deal, but they are offering to take on the entire salary, that's what I would not be surprised if the Cardinals jumped at. And I don't
Yeah.
know what team would do that. The Astros, off the top of my head, are the only team that kind of makes sense just because of where their salary is and where their catcher position is. Um, but that wouldn't
Yeah.
shock me if they're like, we actually are having some buyer's remorse. We don't want to pay this 90 million. We want to use this on pitching because our actual problem is pitching. I'm not
Yeah.
saying that's the right or the wrong thing. I'm just saying I would not be shocked if their Cardinals front office people are thinking along those lines right now.
Yeah. I just don't think it would be a salary dump trade. I don't think they would take like a mediocre prospect for Contreras and his full contract. Like I think if they're going
See,
to
I
do
don't
it,
know.
it would be something that's like an actual like added value. I just don't think it doesn't make sense to me to dump him already. But
Oh, I'm not saying it makes sense. I just wouldn't be
yeah,
surprised if the Cardinals are or the front office is thinking that way
yeah,
because of the weird social aspects of it. The way that they've kind of handled him from the beginning has just been so awkward. I can't think of any other player in my lifetime that's been handled this way. But yeah, we'll see.
yeah. Somebody asked in the Discord if how often do people get traded in the first year of a 5-year deal? And I couldn't think of anybody, but I did think of Rysel Iglesias with
Yeah.
the Angels. Remember, it was last year they signed him to a huge 4-year deal, and then at the trade deadline, traded him to the Braves.
Yep.
So it has happened. That'd be relatively similar to this. Teams have made big deals and then traded them almost immediately. I think trading a reliever is a little bit different than trading the guy that was supposed to be your new primetime
Definitely.
catcher.
Yeah.
But like it does happen, but generally it's very rare. Mostly because teams don't want to admit that like their big offseason signing was immediately like a bust.
Which is also crazy. He's on pace for 3 WAR or so. He's on pace for his normal career averages. He's super hot at the plate right now.
Yeah.
If the
That's
Cardinals are
my point.
regretting their signing, then they didn't evaluate the player properly.
Right. That's my point. It's not like he's failing. I mean, there is the whole thing about him being a starting catcher, which is, I think, a failure on multiple fronts. But other than that, which you can argue whether how big of a thing that is, you can put aside. But if you do put that aside, like he's been good and
Yeah.
he's been fun to watch. And in the few moments this season where things have been rolling, you have gotten glimpses of the like Willson Contreras in front of a winning team.
Yeah.
But just no one looks good right now. So I don't know. I don't think it makes sense to trade him, and
Yeah.
I think it would make the 2024 team less good unless you're getting something like legit back.
Yeah. Yeah. It's also hard for your team to look good when you blow a lead once or twice a week.
Right.
Just not going to happen. Okay. We've talked about pretty much everybody else on this list except for Dylan Carlson. Where would you place the likelihood of him being traded this deadline?
This one's really far more difficult for me to understand because, like,
you know what happened while I was gone, Nate? He cried.
He cried. Yeah, we talked
the
about
media.
it last week. Yeah. It was
Poor guy.
I know. It's difficult. And the weird thing is though, like, I don't know. I would feel like if the Cardinals were actively trying to trade him, they would also want him out there playing. I know that increases injury risk. But the fact that he's not playing at such a crucial moment when he was starting to play pretty well, which feels like it'd be a good time to let him like reinforce how good he actually is. Like if they're really planning to trade him, I feel like he'd be playing.
Yeah.
I could be wrong about that, because also what is like another week of games going to do? Talent evaluators these days are far more sophisticated than like having a decision made over one more weeks of at bats and moments in center field, but still just feels weird to me that he's not playing if he truly is on the block. That all said, like if I try to think of like, I try to put myself in the shoes of the other teams when trying to evaluate like who you would trade for. And because fans love to be like, oh yeah, just trade, three of our light hitting scraps that we all hope will someday be good for one of your stars. Like
for Garrett Cole.
Like no one's going to do that, right? Except for the Rockies and the Diamondbacks around Paul Goldschmidt and Nolan Arenado. But so you got to trade talent to get talent. And so if I'm a team that's looking to add a young outfielder to add to be like a central piece of my team, he's the one that I think is the most gettable from the Cardinals.
Yeah.
I think I probably put him, I'd say O'Neill number one, and then I go really back and forth between Nootbaar and Dylan Carlson. I know everyone loves Nootbaar. The organization obviously loves Nootbaar.
Yeah.
I personally think if both given equal playing time over the next 5 years, it's a crapshoot on which of the two are ultimately the best major leaguers. Different styles, but like I think Nootbaar almost gets a little overvalued and Dylan Carlson is undervalued, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
You may not agree with me on that, but point being,
honestly, I think they're pretty much 1-to-1.
Yeah. Carlson is who I would be targeting if I was trying to acquire an outfielder from the Cardinals. So with that said, then I think it's very likely that he gets traded. Like if there's going to be a bigger trade that isn't just selling off these rental pieces, he to me makes the most sense to be paired with stuff. I know I've said Alec Burleson in a few as well, but like I think a lot of teams would really like to have Dylan Carlson starting every day in their outfield. A lot of rebuilding teams.
I mean, yeah, look at the Miami Marlins. They're not even rebuilding. I'll be curious to see what they do, but they could absolutely use a center fielder who is the same shape as Dylan Carlson.
Doesn't even have to be rebuilding, but a team like the Cardinals who are looking to shift priorities or shift assets around. The Cardinals have too many offensive players and not enough pitching. We need to find a team that has too much pitching and not enough offensive players. And they're looking for the sort of baseline solidness that you get from Carlson. And we forget that Carlson's only 23 years old. Like, there are guys who were just drafted right now who are like barely younger than Dylan Carlson. Like, he's incredibly young still for the league. So like we haven't even really ever seen a full like developed Dylan Carlson.
Yeah. Just to throw out one more team, I could see Seattle wanting Dylan Carlson.
Yeah.
I don't know if I was going to talk about this later, but Jared Kelnick just kicked a water cooler and broke his foot. So maybe they need a second baseman and a
Man,
center field or an outfielder to
just
go out there
the
and run
amount of
with
time.
Julio.
The amount of times people break shit from frustration or celebration, like, I don't know. Like, I get it, but I think we need to like remove. Like, I think the dugouts are gonna eventually become just like soft padded areas.
Line everything with pool noodles.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Tennis balls. Yeah.
yep,
Smart.
smart. Um, anything else you want to talk about around the trade deadline?
No.
Okay, so this is it. This is our last episode before the actual trade deadline. Ben and I are talking about possibly doing a little bit of like a, um, hot news drop. What, I don't even know what to call it.
No,
If
that was
there is,
good.
if there is
So
a major,
everyone, we're talking about doing a hot news drop.
yes,
Dumbass.
people get what that means. If our schedules align and there is a big trade, we might try to do a rapid react. How about that? And drop something in the feed for y'all, but we'll just see how it all lines up. But as Ben said before, this week is possibly the most important week of our lives.
And maybe the most dramatic week ever.
Wow.
Yeah, another, you should like and subscribe to this podcast if you're listening, because that pod will just pop right into your little feed there, and you can listen to us geek out about Dill Carl to the Marlins for Yuri Perez.
Yeah. That would be fun.
Potentially one of the best young pitchers in baseball for a outfielder. That'd be great.
Maybe we can trick the Pirates into trading us Skeens already. I don't think he can be traded yet, but like, I feel like, yeah,
Skeens would be like a top 4 pitcher in the org right now today.
Yeah, I think if he would maybe be the best starter in the rotation.
No, it'd be Montgomery, Skeens, everyone else,
and maybe better than Montgomery.
maybe, yeah. Woof.
All right. Well, real quick, we do want to remind all of our listeners that this show is listener supported on Patreon. If you enjoy the show, want to show your support, consider subscribing at patreon.com/talkingaboutbirds. We really enjoy bringing this show to you. It is a labor of love. And one of the things that we've really enjoyed from it, though, is building our little community. People who subscribe to our Patreon get access to our private Discord. We call it the Bird Scored. It's a great place to chat with other Cardinal fans that get you away from all of the social media drama. If you don't want to jeet, I think that's what they're calling it now. If you don't want to,
can we call the Bird Scored the X Scored?
We're also rebranding. Welcome back to Talking About X. So stupid. So if you want a good place to go and talk to other Cardinal fans, listeners of the show, consider joining patreon.com/talkingaboutbirds. We truly appreciate the support to all of our current patrons and those considering joining. We also appreciate those who take a few minutes, that's all it takes, to leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform. That helps. We know a number of people have found the show just by Googling things like Cardinals podcast or looking in your search feeds for something like that. And that's where those reviews matter. It helps us go above shows like C70 and stuff like that,
all the crap out there.
Oh yeah. And go and check out Kelsey's shows. She was on the show last week. Peace, Love, and Baseball, and Babes. Ben, where can people find us online?
Yeah, get us on all the socials on Twitter/X at Talk About Birds. We're on Instagram at Talking About Birds. We are on Spotify. So if you prefer to listen to podcasts on Spotify, we're there. We got a TikTok. Follow us on TikTok so you can TikTok with us. If you have thoughts, questions, or anything really, I don't know, criticisms mostly, I hope, talkaboutbirds@gmail.com. And all of that information can be found at talkingaboutbirds.com. Again, that is talkingaboutbirds.com.
And hey, quick ask, if you happen to know where like sports type people are congregating outside of Twitter/X, Let us know. There's so many different platforms popping up. It's been kind of hard to figure out where people are actually going. And
I
so I'm very interested.
I wish the Cardinals subreddit was more active.
Yeah.
The Cardinals subreddit kind of sucks.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
We
it's,
need more action in there, people.
yeah, that would be a good one. I mean, but we never post in there either. So,
We're part of
but
the problem. I agree.
yeah. Yeah. So yeah, let us know if you're out there and you find like a little pocket of Cardinal fans and a social media. Let us know because we'd love to get out there and see the alternatives to X or whatever. All right, so back to our content, sweet content. Let's talk about the NL Central. Not a lot has changed, but it'll be an interesting trade deadline. The Brewers currently lead the Central with a record of 56-45. They have a 1.5 game lead over the Cincinnati Reds, who are 55-47. After those two stellar ball clubs, you immediately drop down to under 500 teams: Cubs, Cardinals, and Pirates. So Ben, what are you projecting? Do you think any of the teams at the top of the standings right now are going to be buyers, or is everyone in such a murky position that they're just going to hold, see what happens, and reassess in the offseason?
So I don't know because this division sucks.
Yeah,
But I think like to me, obviously Milwaukee should go out and augment their team. I think that they could use help on either side of the ball. I think it's probably likely that they augment their offense and get a reliever of some type. And they don't, I don't think that they're going to really put themselves out there as far as like trading some of their young guys. They, Jackson
yeah,
Churio, and they have some levers that they can pull. They just had Sal Frelick come up and contribute immediately. But they could still use, I mean, if Rowdy Tellez comes back healthy, they could still use a hitter on top of that. And
yeah,
as we talked about, every team could use relief help, and they definitely fit that bill. So I think for me, that's 1A. Of course, they should go buy. I cannot believe that the way they handled the trading deadline last year.
yeah.
Like, they,
I mean, some point to it to being a core reason why they essentially collapsed and the Cardinals took over the division. I mean, you can also talk about all the good things the Cardinals did and why they took the division, but trading like your maybe Hall of Fame closer,
it's
uh,
insane.
yeah, yeah, even if it might ultimately be a long term, good move for them,
Yeah.
it definitely. It's not great when your first place team is doing interviews being like, I don't know what our plan is here.
so so pretty clear from Milwaukee's standpoint. They're up in the standings. It's their division to lose. I believe that irrelevant of the record. I do think that they're the
Yeah.
best team in the Central.
And they have
Um,
Brandon Woodruff should be back like any day now.
Right. Yeah. Him and Rowdy, I think, are really going to help the team quite a bit. And Rowdy's not having the best year ever, but just that left handed power is something that team needs. And man,
Yeah.
I'll be really curious to see what they do with Adamas. If they re-sign him or not. But yeah, so I think a pretty straight and narrow what Milwaukee should do. They should add Cincinnati is probably the biggest question mark for me. I think Cubbies like very likely to sell. I would sell if I was them. Pittsburgh already, even more likely than anyone else. Cardinals we already know, but Cincinnati's the big question mark for me. I don't believe, as I've said multiple times, I don't believe in the team as far as a long run in them. I do believe that they are playing out of their shoes, and I think their Achilles heel is their pitching.
Yeah.
Even with some great performances, like Abbott is pitching really well, but all right, I'll take a step back. I guess my question is: this team is better than we expected it to be sooner, right? They're obviously better than they were last year. So do
Yes.
you do the Orioles thing and you kind of sit and marinate and wait for those players to get better and run it back the next year, or when you're this close to potentially winning the division, you're one game out from winning the division. Do you push your chips in and take advantage of your position in the standings right now and try to win when it's right in front of you?
Yeah. It's an interesting question. I Part of it would determine, or would be dependent on the cost. If they can maybe do a sort of light go for it, what I would argue the Cardinals did last year with like, or maybe not last year, the best example, but basically like the style of trades where you're going and getting a Jose Quintana, or like a J.A. Happ from the year before, where like you're not breaking the bank for those guys, but it will add meaningful improvement to your team that year. I could see them doing something like that. I don't think it makes sense yet for them to essentially go all in. I've heard, or I read that they are shopping, for pitching improvements. They've apparently made it known that they will trade Jonathan India for a young, controlled starter.
I think that's kind
Um,
of crazy.
well, they have like all of these call ups that they've just done, and they don't even have all their infielders up yet.
Yeah.
Noel V. Marte, who is apparently incredible, is still down there. He's another shortstop. Like at some point, like, they need to do what the Cardinals need to do, which is transition these infield prospects into pitching. Um, so I think they should do a like maybe a light buy, or something that really sets them up. I see them being a real problem in 2024.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
that pitching gets healthy, um, on top of all these young guys, like I think they're going to be pretty good. So I'd be looking for something that maybe increases your 2023, but really continues to set you up for a 2024
Yeah.
run, because they look like they could be, uh, I already bet that they will be a lot of people's like dark horse pick next year.
Not
And if yeah,
not to mention they're going to have a lot of money to spend this offseason
right,
because their team salary is bargain basement. So they could go
yeah,
get Aaron Nola and I don't know, X other high level pitcher and really
yeah.
make that team look scary quickly.
That said, their owner is a piece of shit who has outwardly said he doesn't want to spend money to make the team better. So,
Yeah.
but it is different when your team is really good and you're maybe a piece or two away from sealing the deal rather than where they were even 2 years ago. But I don't know. He's sort of a bad guy. Of like all of the owners are like inherently trash, but he's the type that says the quiet part out loud
Yeah.
also.
Yeah. Yeah. Blaming
Yeah.
fans.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
It's,
what did he say? Like he said, if you don't like it, where are you gonna go?
yeah.
Something like that, which is
We're
like
the
the
only
dude.
game in town.
Yeah. Yeah.
That sounds
Uh,
like fun entertainment. You have us,
yeah.
you're holding us hostage.
So I agree with you though. I think Milwaukee should buy. It's their division to lose. They have the top end pitching that could facilitate a good playoff run. I think Cincinnati should think about 2024. And I think the Cubs are going to sell. The Cubs are in a similar position with some of their players as the Cardinals are now. I think they are trying to decide between selling Cody Bellinger and extending him, because he certainly looks like he's fully back and likes being a Cub. So he's a huge trade chip for them, but they also might just extend him. I
Yeah.
don't know which one I want. I don't like him being a Cub and doing well, but they've been pretty smart at the deadlines recently. So they probably get something really good for him. Uh, so, and I don't even know who the Pirates sell. What do the Pirates have to sell?
Uh,
I
McCutcheon?
honestly, yeah, I guess, but he went to them on this like glory, like retired, like fade out deal. Like
Yeah.
I don't know if
Bednar. They could sell
they
high
could,
on Bednar.
they could sell Bednar. Yeah, yeah, that's a good one.
Um, boo. End of
Yeah,
list.
yeah, it gets rough.
Kojo's he's still a hitter.
Hmm. Yep.
No,
Yeah. Rough.
Johan Oviedo might get you something.
Quintana's back.
Yeah. Quintana is a Met.
Yeah.
Oh, go trail. Okay. If Johan Oviedo once again got traded, but for Quintana, that would be a fantastic move.
I wonder, that has to have happened over the history of baseball
It has to have,
where
yeah.
a player's been traded for the same player like twice
Yeah.
or more. I'm sure it's happened. All right. Anything else you want to talk about with the NL Central?
No, I'm just excited to be on the other side of this deadline, my guy.
Yes. All right. We have a couple series to talk about. The Cardinals had such a good time against the Cubs last weekend. We thought, let's do it again, only this time at home, which it should be better. 4 games against the Cubs. I mean, that was such a disappointing series in Chicago. I don't know how much of it you got to watch, but it. I was I we Kelsey and I talked about this where like, it was really I want when I'm watching the games, it's now Nate, future Nate doesn't exist yet. I want the Cardinals to win games. It's
Right.
more fun. That game against the Diamondbacks 2 nights ago, like was a really fun game.
Yeah.
It's like, oh man, like you can still enjoy baseball even if your team is completely like out of it. And that Arizona game, really made me feel that. But man, those games in Chicago were just like, this is what it's actually like for this team. Like we're done. It's done. Like
It's
let's stop.
done.
Yeah.
I honestly, I'm almost glad it happened because that winning streak was just, random acts clustering randomly. I don't believe in this team. It's not going to happen. It's fun to have the streak, and I'm sure that helped the Cardinals players' mental health a bit, but which is obviously worth something. But yeah, I mean, the Cubs aren't even that good of a team, and I can pretty much say they're better than the Cardinals.
Well, and Kelsey and I talked about it, but like a 4-game series in Chicago is always going to be tough also. Right. So like I think the Cardinals would have been happy splitting that series. And so going 1-3 like sucks, but it's also it's Wrigley, it's the middle of the summer. Those games are crapshoots even when like the it's lopsided. But yeah, it's hard not to say the Cubs are a better team. Though I think it's pretty close.
Is it?
I think so. I mean, I think the Cardinals have had some bad luck this year too, but I think both teams are just like right below 500 teams, true talent. So I think you could, you run it a million times, and with this season, and the Cubs and Cardinals are back and forth.
Cardinals have a better offense than the Cubs, but the Cubs have a better defense and pitching, and still have a pretty good offense.
Yeah,
that's the way I look at it. But yeah, I don't know.
Wow, big Cubs fan over here.
They are.
I thought this was a Cardinal podcast.
Watching that series, watching the Cubs defense against the Cardinals defense was stark.
Oh, yeah? Well, I think the Cubs are stupid.
That's pretty good. All right.
These colors don't run.
Okay. You sound like you're in the Cardinals front office doing that self-evaluation. Have you considered the stupidity of the other teams and that they smell?
The Cardinal way is to put on blinders.
Bury your head in the sand. Let it rip.
Yeah. So not much to say about the upcoming games. It's that we just talked about the Cubs. We're all pretty familiar with them. So we'll see. 4 games at home hopefully should go better than what it was in Chicago. And then after that, a more unique series. We get to see the Twins.
Yeah.
I love the balanced schedule and just getting to play all these different teams. So it's fun to play the Twins. What are you seeing from the Twins right now?
They're first place of an equally bad division. These are the Milwaukee Brewers of the AL Central. They're even kind of built the same, where there's some defense, there's some pitching. They have one of the better closers in baseball and a couple of thumpers. I mean they're a good team. They are very well balanced, in my opinion, and they have like enough power to keep you honest. I think Carlos Correa is still going to turn it around at some point this year.
Yeah.
And their 1, 2, 3 in the rotation is super duper solid with Pablo Lopez should be a Cardinal, Joe Ryan and Sonny Gray. Joe Ryan and Sonny Gray both having really nice standout seasons. And Johan Duran might be my favorite pitcher to watch right now. He's the guy that throws the 101 mile an hour splitter. He's pretty good. He was the guy who struck out one of the best closers in baseball, struck out Jared Kelenic in a 9-pitch at bat. And that was the at bat that Jared Kelenic went and broke his foot on. It's like, dude, you gotta take the L.
Yeah, you just got beat by. It's okay to get beat by this guy.
He's really good. He's
Yeah,
better than you. Like,
yeah, yeah. I'm a big fan of him as well.
yeah.
Did you know that, or do you remember that the Twins got Joe Ryan, who's having an incredible season, for 2 months of Nelson Cruz?
I didn't know that.
Yeah, they got. He was from the Rays. So
Trading deadline.
yeah,
This is why I said this is going to be the most dramatic week of our lives.
and also sometimes the Rays do ship out great players.
They just have so many that nobody notices.
Yeah, and they're on the other side of those trades more often than not. So you kind of
Right.
forget when, like, oh yeah, they did get rid of Joe Ryan for 2 months of an old hitter. So it just shows, like, if you do your work too, like you can make meaningful change in a trade deadline. So we'll see
Absolutely. Yeah.
what the Cardinals can pull off. All right, so now let's run through some league news. What do you want to talk about, Ben?
Yeah, kind of talked about everything this week, so not too much. We do have a couple of trade deadline moves. The Dodgers reacquire Enrique Hernandez from the Red Sox. Enrique Hernandez, I think, might be my favorite. Maybe I won't say best, but might be my favorite utility player in baseball because
Yeah.
he can be the best center fielder and the best shortstop on the same team. Not to mention, he has like a cannon for an arm, can play second. He's got some pop. He really hits left-handers well. I really like Enrique Hernandez as a player. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and he's coming back to LA, which I think makes sense. The Dodgers kind of loading up for their October run, and this is, I think it's a great move.
Yeah.
Smart move. Curious on the Red Sox end why they did this. Trevor Story should be coming back soon.
Yeah, he's supposed to be
So
back any week now.
he'll probably be the everyday shortstop with Kike going out, assuming no setbacks. So that's good, I guess. Having Trevor Story back in baseball is good news. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
interesting move for sure.
Kike is just fun to say too.
It is, and he's funny
Kike.
too. He's like, he's
Yeah,
got a
I
good
like him.
online presence. Yeah,
Yeah.
I like him. The Braves trade with my Colorado Rockies to acquire Pierce Johnson, who will assuredly have a better time with the Braves for all of the
Yeah.
reasons, and I'm sure all of his numbers and ERA will either go half down, or his strikeout will go 50% up. It'll be a much better situation down there for him. So the
Yeah.
Braves loading up.
Of all the bullpens to trade from, you don't really feel like the Rockies bullpen is one to be targeted right now. It's been
God.
pretty much garbage all season, but obviously there's a lot of outside factors to that as well.
Justin Lawrence is good against right-handed hitters most of the time.
Yeah, he's been okay. Daniel Bard has been a lot better recently.
Yeah, we're fine. It's fine over here.
Yeah.
Also, Pierce Johnson,
Great.
great name.
Great name. But it just makes you think of Pierce Brosnan. So
makes me think of something else. But yeah, that's also fair.
Oh.
We already talked.
Gross. It's like an Austin Powers joke. Going on here. Yeah. You nasty.
Yeah, his one of the people that works for Dr. Evil named Pierce Johnson.
Yeah.
And anyways. We already talked about Jared Kelenic a couple of times, making fun of that guy. The Atlanta Braves are set to be the first team to go public with an IPO. You can buy stock in the Atlanta Braves, which if it's just based on their on-field play, I say go. Like, go drop as much money on that as you can. But very interesting to see. This obviously they've been public for a while now. The fact that the people can actually buy their stock, and I guess we'll see what happens. I don't think that this will be a trend. I think owners like being owners and having full autonomy and it working that way. But yeah, a Major League Baseball team is about to have shareholders for the first time ever.
Yeah, I'm really torn on this. There's a lot of ways that this could go. I'm concerned because it means that now profit generation is even more of a concern for them. I mean, it's obviously already at pretty much every team's primary concern, but now they are beholden to shareholders for profit generation. So I'm concerned about that. Just another step towards sports
Right.
as a tool for capitalism. Now, flip side, is there a world where the shareholders ultimately recognize that winning is the most valuable thing a team can do, and shareholders are able to put pressure on a team to win rather than just try to improve like your bottom line profits? um Maybe. And
Maybe.
so maybe that is a positive outcome where it puts the direction of the team a little bit more in the hands of fans who can help push the team towards long-term success,
Right.
which ultimately means winning. The most profitable teams are the ones who win the most. So I don't know, but I mean, just on paper, it feels icky that like now the stock exchange is directly involved in a baseball team.
Yeah.
So I've just like a lot of alarm bells around like intent of a team, but we'll see.
Money is dumb and fake.
Oh shit! Yeah, so I mean,
That's what this makes me like. Of course, I don't know.
yeah,
I have no idea what I'm talking about, but it just feels fake
yeah,
and
yeah.
and weird. Um, Last thing I want to talk about. This is a piece of really good news to end our league news segment on. As of just a few moments ago, Nathan, the MLB owners have voted to extend Commissioner Rob Manfred. Let's
We did
go.
it.
Let's
Let's
go.
go.
I believe his contract is going to be in place through the 2028 season.
Jesus Christ.
So, big
Okay.
win.
Wow, we did it, folks.
Yeah.
We love it, don't we, folks? Very legal and very cool.
That's all I got for league news.
All right. Well, let's play a little game. Let's wrap this up. So we've been talking a lot about the trade deadline, Ben. And
Hey, you're telling me, Nate.
hey, and John Mozeliak, it's been a rough time for the Cardinals, and he's been getting a lot of shit for his trades. And so it made me think like, well, I want to go back and look through some of the trades under the Mozeliak, leadership under
Yeah. Okay.
under his regime. And then it made me think, well, I wonder how well Ben can
Wow.
remember all of these different trades. So I've got a new game for you that I'm calling Mo Trades, Ben Fades. And the way
Pretty
this
good.
the way this works
It's okay.
is I'm going to give you elements of a trade and you basically need to fill in the blank.
Sure.
So it might be a guy from the Cardinal side, or it might be somebody that we received in the trade.
Sure. Okay.
Um,
How about this? Brett Wallace.
Matt Holliday.
Okay, look at that. We're already playing.
Yeah. Yeah. Not on my list, but that's a good one. So I do have, there's a lot of trades. Like we forget about all the like multi-layer trades that are happening all the time. So I'm trying to keep this at relatively like important or known trades. So I'm not trying to goof you on this, but I found it actually kind of hard to remember all the aspects of some of these bigger trades. So I'm not going to do a like Edward Mojica for Zach Cox sort of trade on
Man,
you. I'm not going to
that's an
expect you to.
all-star closer right there. I would have remembered that one.
You would. I don't think you would have remembered Zach Cox, but maybe first round pick.
I never forget
Um,
Zach Cox.
all right, so um, here's we'll just go ahead and get started. So the Rays traded to the St. Louis Cardinals Justin Williams, Genesis Cabrera, and Roel Ramirez for which St. Louis Cardinal?
I thought there was 2 St. Louis Cardinals in this deal.
Well, give me both.
So I'm thinking Tommy Pham and Jose Martinez.
I'm going to give it to you. Jose Martinez was in a different trade.
Was
but
he?
you are, yes, it is the Tommy Pham
It was
trade.
just Pham. Okay.
Mhm. It was Tommy
Oh,
Pham.
it was Jose Martinez and Randy Arozarena.
Correct.
My bad.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I got there before you corrected me.
So it was Pham and international slot money
Okay.
for Justin Williams, Genesis Cabrera, and Roel Ramirez.
I was sort of a Justin Williams believer for a week or two there.
Yeah, well, he had a good little. Everyone was a big Justin Williams fan for like a few weeks. He was a fun story.
He hit ball hard.
The Cardinals traded this player to the Cleveland Indians, now Guardians, for John Torres and Connor Capel.
This player for, you said John Torres and Connor Capel.
Mm-hmm.
I think we've traded a lot with the Indians or the Guardians. Yes. I think. Oh, butts. So who's popping in my head right now is Jake Westbrook, but I think that was further in the past. Thinking about Brandon Moss, I think that was further in the past as well. Oh, I'm going to say Oscar Mercado.
You got it.
Let's go.
And we got Brandon Moss from the Indians, did we not?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Throwback. Scott Rolen was traded for this player.
Oh, crap. From the Phillies, right? Scott Rolen. Who is Scott Rolen traded for? Oh, I don't know this one. It's oh, crap.
You definitely know the player, but we are getting far back.
Was it Placido Polanco?
It was not. Oh! It was kind of close though. It was Troy Gloss.
Troy Gloss. Wait. Mm-hmm. Oh. Wait, what was that deal?
Scott Rolen for Troy Gloss.
To who? From the Angels? Because Troy Gloss was an Angel. I don't think that trade is right.
To the Blue Jays.
Oh, the Blue Jays.
Mm-hmm.
Really? That's a stupid deal. For some reason, I thought we got Troy Gloss from free agency, but I forgot he was a Blue Jay for a minute.
Yeah. I mean, Troy Gloss was supposed to be the third baseman of the future for the Cardinals, and then it was...
he had that one really good year.
Yeah. All right.
I was thinking... So, the trade to receive Scott Rolen, that's what I was thinking.
Yes.
You worded it in a way that I decided was confusing.
Okay. Well, let's make sure we're on the same page going forward.
Jackass.
Matt Adams was traded to the Braves for which player?
Matt Adams was traded to the Braves. Freddie Freeman. No. Matt Adams was traded to the Braves, and the Cardinals received... Man, I remember that deal because he came there and was hitting so hot that Freddie Freeman tried playing third base so they could keep Matt Adams in the lineup, which is insane. Obviously, pre-DH.
Yeah, he ultimately put up like one F4 for him that season and then bounced all around. Is still in baseball.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, man, this one feels like it's on the tip of my tongue. Oh, my goodness. I don't have it, though. Yeah, I don't know. Adam Wainwright.
Well, Ben, in this house, we say Yepez.
Juan Yepez.
Matt Adams was traded for Juan Yepez.
Really? It's just straight up.
Yep.
Good trade by Mo.
Right?
If we can ever see Juan Yepez play ever again.
Yeah, right. Yeah. All right, going back in time. Jim Edmonds was traded to the Padres for which player?
Oh, crap. I think it's David Freese.
Yes.
Okay.
David Freese.
All right. I was like, I'm 99% sure on that one.
Yeah. So Mo threw in a couple $1 million on top. Like, it's actually a really good Mo trade. They plucked Freese kind of like out of obscurity. Like he'd had a pretty good year in the minors, but nothing crazy. And they like hard targeted him.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly, there was the trade was originally going to be for someone else, but the Cardinals threw in the money on the deal in order to get Freeze instead of the other guy. So they like big time went for Freeze, and obviously the rest is
That worked.
history.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
No wonder Mo
This
has
one's a
this
little,
like God complex.
yeah, right. This one is a little tougher. Luke Voigt was traded to the Yankees for which two players?
Chasen Shreve and Giovanni Gallegos.
Very good. I did not think you would remember Chasen Shreve.
How do you forget that name? What a mouthful. He's a weird looking guy too, but he pitched okay for like a year and a half.
Yeah, I think Shreve is
Chasen
still. I think he's
Shreve.
still in the league. I think I saw him somewhere recently.
Oh my
Um,
god.
all
That's,
right,
that's crazy.
that is crazy.
All
All right, two more for you.
right.
I'm going to give you. There'll be two blanks in this one. Shelby Miller and who were traded for Jason Hayward and who from the Braves?
Yeah. So I know the players. It was a prospect. He was a starting pitcher. The guy coming from the Cardinals. He was a prospect. He was coming from the Cardinals. Very young guy. Had control issues. High strikeout rate.
Yes.
Oh my God, I can't think of his
You've got
name right
all
now.
of his descriptors correct.
And never really made it. I don't even know if he's still in baseball. Man, I cannot think of his name right now. And the other guy was Jordan Walden,
Yes.
coming from the Braves, but the Cardinals prospect,
Very
who
good.
I liked this guy, and was disappointed when he left the Cardinals, even though he didn't amount to anything. I cannot think of his name. Oh, wait, is it Terrell?
Do you want to go
Is,
more?
is it Terrell Jenkins?
It is. Yeah.
Oh,
Terrell
let's
or
go.
Tyrell. Yeah. Very good. I did
Oh,
not think you'd be able to pull that.
whew,
Very good.
that hurt.
Tyrell
There's smoke coming out
Jenkins.
of my ears.
Yeah. Yeah. He was, he was, it was a lot like what happened when the Cardinals traded Sandy Alcantara. Like a very similar profile.
Yeah.
Fireballer has no control, probably going to be in the bullpen. And then somehow the Marlins turned him into what he is today.
Yeah.
And then the Braves. Yeah, Tyrell has not been. He made his MLB debut for the Braves in 2016. Only pitched in 14 games and then was never back in the majors.
All right.
He was in the minors through 2017 before falling out of baseball.
All right.
So, another huge win for Mozeliak. I'm not trying to stand Mozeliak in this moment. Like he's had his ups and downs, but that was another really good trade for the Cardinals. Even though the Cardinals did not extend Hayward, it was still
that's turned out to be a good move too.
Yeah, that turned out to be good too. Is the Cardinals won 100 games and Hayward was arguably the best player on the team that year. So, all right, my last one, Ben. John Jay was traded for who from the Padres?
Oh no, this is a tough one. John Jay was traded. Padres. Oh man. That is I want to think about it for a little bit. Crap. John Jay. Chief Justice. Was traded to the Dads.
Now in the Marlins system.
Yeah.
Or like
first
is
base
a
coach.
Yeah.
My brain, I want to say Greg Garcia for some reason, but I don't think that that's right. I think Greg Garcia came up through the Cardinals. Because he was just after the Memphis Mafia kind of fizzled out a little bit. Yeah, I can't think of it. So I'll just say Greg Garcia.
You have like a similar, what's that called? Alliteration. It's not exactly the same though. Jed Jerko.
Jed Jerko.
Not
Oh,
Greg
wow.
Garcia.
That's a pretty good trade too.
Yeah, Jed Jerko. While you were thinking about it, I looked it up. So he in 2016 he had 2.9 F4. In 2017 3.4, and then in 2018 it was 1.5 before he ended up getting traded again.
Yeah.
But yeah, Jerko was a great trade. Like 6 WAR for it was 1 year of John Jay for I think 4 years of Jerko.
Yeah, that's a good deal. I remember, especially when he would get on a heater, he was really, really fun to watch. It
Oh
looked like
yeah.
he was playing softball.
Well, he hit 30 bombs
Yeah.
in one of his years with the Cardinals,
Yeah, that
which
was fun.
we didn't have a lot of home run hitters in the 2016 and 2017 seasons.
No.
So, yeah. All right. Well, that'll do it
Damn,
for
that was tough.
yeah, that'll do it for Mo trades and Ben fades.
Damn.
You actually did really well. You only got the only one you got wrong was Scott Rolen for Troy Gloss and Matt Adams for Juan Yepez.
And Jed Jerko.
And Jed Jerko. Yeah. But you got actually the ones that I didn't think you'd get, like the random relievers.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's just some of the trades. I mean, there were so many to pick from, but those felt like, somewhat memorable. So we'll see. We'll play this game again in 5 years, and we'll talk about the 2023 trade deadline.
There we go. And Rob Manfred will still be in power.
Yes. Power. All right. Well, that'll do it for this week. Welcome back, Benny. We will be back next week and maybe sometime in between for all of our trade deadline recap and discussion and what the Cardinals' last 2 months will look like. Who knows? It's an interesting time as a Cardinal fan. I think it can still be a lot of fun as a Cardinal fan. So I hope that you will join us through the rest of the season. Tell your friends, tell your dads, tell your moms, tell your grandparents. We appreciate it. And as always, remember to check out the Patreon, patreon.com/talkingaboutbirds. And we will be back next week, same time, same place. And until then, go Cardinals.
Sign Hicks.
Extend Walker.
Extend Walker.
Talking about